my name is Maddie or Books with Maddie, and today I'm showing you books that have the same energy. Okay, so I'm sure you've seen this concept going around on TikTok that's like, these two things have the same energy, and then it's two things. Like, how science, the subject of science is green, or how like, what is it, like Colgate toothpaste and Boys Named Michael have the same energy. Like, it's like two, I can't explain this concept, you just kind of have to know. Like, two things that exist individually of each other have the same energy. I don't know how else to describe it if you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you can Google this and be like, things that have the same energy. It's like, what color is science? Green. Everybody thinks it's green. Everybody has mutually decided that green is science, which just makes sense. So I started thinking about this, and like, certain books have the same energy, and I think energy is kind of an abstract concept when it comes to like Boys Named Michael and Colgate toothpaste, and I think my idea of books that have the same energy is a little bit more linear, if that's the correct word. Like, they make more sense sometimes. I feel like it's not quite as chaotic as Colgate toothpaste and Boys Named Michael. I think that a lot of them have some reasoning behind them. So I didn't know how similar this concept is to the idea of like, if you read this book, you'll like this book. I think it's kind of similar to that, although some of these books I've liked one and haven't liked the other. So I'll just kind of explain it as it comes along, I guess, and we're going to kind of see. Let me know if you have any books that have the same energy, and comment them below, because I'm curious to see how else this works, or like things that I haven't thought of. Even if they don't like even connect in a certain way, just books that have the same energy. We're just going to go ahead and talk about books that have the same energy, and possibly if you read one, you might like the other. Possibly. I'm going to tell you what themes are the same in each, and if you like that specific theme from the book, you might like the other one. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So the first one that I thought of, which was the one that literally made this idea come into existence. These two books have the exact same energy, and you can't tell me otherwise. I only have one of the books, but it's Where the Crawdads Sing, and this book that has the same energy is Inland by Tia Obrecht. Very different books, but the same energy. What gives them the same energy, I feel like, is the setting and some of the writing. Like, this takes place in a North Carolina marsh, and Inland takes place, okay, let me preface this with, I haven't finished this book and I hated Inland. This is one of those situations where I don't know if you like this book, if you like Inland. I think some of the writing kind of is similar, but I did not understand Inland at all. It was dumb, in my opinion. The different perspectives didn't make any sense. The one perspective was literally a guy talking to a camel the entire time. What? So different levels of interest for me personally, but the vibe is the same. I don't think the vibe is what's drawing people into this book per se, because I think it's the characters and the writing that are drawing people into, where I think Inland relies way too heavily on the vibe. But they have similar settings. I don't remember where Inland takes place. I feel like it's in the South, and it has a similar idea of like the family that it's about. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like kind of secluded, like Kaya is in this book. I can't even synopsize Inland for you because I didn't understand it at all. I can synopsize this one a little bit, even though I haven't finished it. Basically, this follows a girl named Kaya who has lived with her family in like this marsh area of North Carolina, and her family, her siblings, and her parents start leaving as they try to start their own lives because they just can't have a life in the marsh. They're poor, they don't have any education and things like that, so her siblings start to leave to try to make lives of their own, and she ends up being left alone. It kind of takes place in two timelines. The one timeline, which is kind of like 1950s, that's her like growing up in this marsh area, and then there's one that takes place in 1969, which is a murder mystery, and it kind of ties it all together. Very, very good book. I'm not going to say all my thoughts about this book because I want to go more in depth in my wrap-up about how I feel about this book, even though I'm not quite finished with it yet. So I would recommend this book. Inland, very specific audience, I feel like, but these have the same energy. This isn't necessarily a recommendation video, I feel like. I feel like it's just like, can you agree with me? I feel like that's where this video has come from. Okay, next we have Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel and The Plague by Elmer Cabot. I don't know why I said his name really weirdly, but these have the same energy. And I feel like this one is more linear because these are both about pandemics. So I feel like this one is more of a recommendation. Station 11 follows a group of people who have survived this pandemic and are trying to kind of recreate as much normalcy as they can. This one is about a small town in France that gets taken over by a pandemic, and basically it just follows maybe a year or two in the life of this city. The main character is a doctor. He's trying to figure out the cure for this illness, and he's seeing people dying around him. This one I feel like is very applicable to this day and age, and this one is definitely more philosophical. I feel like this one has a lot of philosophical meaning. These both have pandemic energy. I know that might be triggering to some people, so don't read it if you're gonna get triggered, but yeah, I know this one became really popular during the pandemic, but I think this one follows our lived experience more closely. A lot of the tropes and themes that occur in this one occurred in our actual lives, so I would highly recommend this. And this is pretty readable. I know it's a classic and kind of more philosophical, and so that kind of lends to less readability, but I found this fairly accessible, and I'm pretty sure there's a free audiobook of it on YouTube, so if that is helpful for you, feel free to check that out. Next one, I also only have one of these books, but it is Middle Game by Seanan McGuire and Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Denforth. These I feel so strongly about that they have the same energy, and they're very different concepts, but I feel like they just have the same energy. I don't know how to describe it. By the way, I'm going to be completely unable to accurately describe either of these books because they both like so confusing and don't make any sense to me, and that's why they have the same energy. This one follows two people who are twins. Their names are Roger and Dodger, and they can communicate telepathically, and then a lot of things happen. I think there's like when I try to describe this book, I can't. No words come out. I read 600 pages of this book. Oh, this is only 500 pages. I read 500 pages of this book, and I don't know what happened. I cannot tell you what happened besides the fact that there are two twins, they communicate telepathically, they live on other sides of the United States, and that's it. And then it's just chaos. And then it's just pure chaos after that. Similarly to Plain Bad Heroines, this one I feel like I can explain a little bit more comprehensively. Basically, this follows multiple timelines, multiple perspectives, but the idea is around this school called, don't remember the name of the school, Haunt. I don't remember the name of the school. It's not really important, but it's an all-girls school that existed, and basically there was this book written by Mary McLean that was kind of really affecting some of the girls of this school, and it was rumored that it kind of had a curse attached to it, and then apparently Brookhaunts, that's the name of the school. Brookhaunts apparently became cursed and haunted. Because of this, it got shut down, and now in modern day, there's a group of people trying to make a movie about this school and the story of it, and some of the main girls who were affected by this book. And so it switches between those timelines, between the timeline of the actual school existing and what was going on, and then the characters trying to make this movie about this school and what happens to them as they're trying to make the movie. Doesn't sound that chaotic, but wow, it just had the same energy as Middle Game. I don't know how else to describe it. There was just this kind of chaos surrounding it where, like, you had so many questions. Like, you kind of knew they weren't going to be answered. Like, it just didn't really make sense. A lot of these things didn't make sense. They're both extremely unique, nuanced books. And if you're into, like, really weird books that just bend your brain a lot, maybe I'm just dumb. I don't think so. I think these are just weird books. But they have the same energy, so if you're into that, I would recommend both of these. I guess this is now a recommendation video because I think if you like this one, I think you're going to like Plain Bad Heroines and vice versa. This one is more chaotic though. I feel like it's easier to like Plain Bad Heroines than this one because this is a really weird book. I'm going to be honest. Okay, next we have Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado, and The Vegetarian by Han Kang. These books have the same energy, and I don't know how to describe it because they're pretty different. This is a collection of short stories that have a lot of commentary on gender, sexuality, and race, and it is written in this kind of science fiction-y type of writing. So it's not just like short stories that like tell you the story of like somebody's life. Like, it's weird. Like, I'm pretty sure there's one story about people living inside of prom dresses or something. I read this like 2 years ago, so I don't remember a ton about it, but I remember being really confused about it. I do recommend it though, I think. I kind of want to reread it because I feel like it would be more impactful to me now. I remember when I first read it, I was just kind of confused, didn't really get what was going on, but I knew that it was like powerful. I think one of the critiques I've heard about it is like the story is so enveloped by these science fiction and fantasy themes that the actual message of the story gets kind of drowned out by all of these fantasy tropes. I think I agree with that. I think that a lot of time these like really weird aspects kind of took over. But I would still recommend it because I still think it's powerful and it's really interesting. Kind of like The Vegetarian. This follows a woman who has this crazy nightmare about meat, and she all of a sudden decides to be vegetarian and makes her husband only eat not meat, and then she starts kind of starving herself. And I think there's 3 parts. The first part follows her husband, the second part follows her brother-in-law, and the third part follows her sister. And these both have the same kind of, there is a message here, but I'm unclear as to what it is. That's the energy that these 2 books admit. This is like I feel like this is becoming a modern classic. Like, this is one of those books that has won a ton of awards and people talk really highly about it, and it's like literary fiction. And I feel like I don't understand it. I think both of these are like, there's a chance that you won't understand what's going on, and that's okay. I don't know that you're fully supposed to understand everything that's going on. I think there's a lot of metaphor that takes place in both of these books. And I don't know how this translates to if you like one, you'll like the other, because I think I rated both of these 3 stars, but I don't think like they're linear in that kind of way. I think they just have the same energy, and I think that's that. I feel like this next one might be a little too linear. I feel like this might just be, if you like this book, you should read the other one, but I just really want to talk about both of these books. So the first one is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I feel like this doesn't need too much of a explanation. I feel like this is an extremely popular book that most people, I feel like, have read at this point. I would definitely recommend it if you haven't, but I feel like the next book I'm about to recommend you probably haven't read, and I think that you should. And I just really want to talk about this book. It is Laughing All the Way to the Mosque, and I'm really sorry because I don't know that I'm pronouncing this name correctly, but it looks like Zarqa Nawaz. This is an incredible book, and I think you should read it. And these books have the same energy because they're both memoirs, and they're both about women of color, and they both have a lot of commentaries on race. Both of these women have like this really accessible way of writing that makes them very easy to read and kind of compulsively readable. I want to talk a little bit more about this one because you probably already know a lot about Becoming. This is a memoir that follows this woman who moves from the Middle East to Canada, and she's like a practicing Muslim in this Western society. Talks a lot about the struggles with that, but this book is so good. I had to read this book for my Women in Global Religions class, and I loved it. Like, this was a truly enjoyable book. It talks about her growing up and having these Muslim practices in a society that is really harsh on those practices, and they're very stigmatized. And it takes place before 9/11, and then for most of the book, and then maybe 3/4 of the way through 9/11 happens, and then it talks about her experience going through that, and then after that. And it was fascinating. It was truly, truly fascinating. And this one is definitely more humor-centric. She's a hilarious writer. It just destigmatizes a lot of these really inaccurate stereotypes that we learn about Muslim people through our media, because I feel like Western perception of the Middle East and specifically Islam is so skewed. It is so incorrect, and this just really helped me to more accurately grasp practices of Islam as well as just the lived experience of a Muslim woman and having a Muslim family. And I thought it was extremely enlightening, and it's so readable and so accessible, and I highly, highly recommend it. It was so enjoyable to read. I don't know if I'm just gushing about these two women or if these have the same energy. I feel like they do have the same energy, but it's very linear. It's kind of like, if you enjoyed this, you should read this. If you enjoyed this, you should read this. But also the same energy. This is still relevant, I promise. Okay, the last one I'm going to do is Stalking Jack the Ripper and Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schulte. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Beside the fact that these have the same color scheme and beautiful covers, these have the same energy. And I don't really know why. This is fantasy. This is historical fiction. They both center heavily around a mystery, and they're both YA, so I don't know if that's what's giving me the impression. There's lots of YA mysteries, but these specifically have the same energy. They both also have two characters who are, one is a man and one is a woman, and they fall in love. Kind of. This one is a little bit more slow burn. This one is pretty slow burn. I feel like there's witty banter in both is what I'm trying to say. That's kind of where it's at. I feel like these just have the same energy, and I feel like this one is pretty underrated. This is, I feel like, accurately rated, accurately hyped. This one I feel like is underrated, and it's a mix of fantasy and mystery, and I feel like it's a standalone. I feel like this should be getting way more hype than it does. So here's my last one. These two books have the same energy. Fight me. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. I don't know if this was dumb or not. Let me know if you agree with me, and let me know even more books that have the same energy down below. If you want me to do this again, I can think of more books that have the same energy. Yeah, this is kind of a weird idea, and I don't know if it's gonna go well or not, but some of these just make sense to me, and I want to share that with you to see if they make sense to you as well. I know this wasn't really supposed to be a recommendation video, but maybe you got a recommendation. Let me know if you're gonna read any of these after seeing this video, and I'm pretty sure that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at bookswithmaddi, or follow me on Goodreads. The link will be in the description below for all of those things. But other than that, I hope you have a great day, I hope you have a great week, and I hope you have a great life, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye!